Hello, people, and welcome to the first match preview show of the season. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to do one for Newport as I was on holiday. However, it's here. It's the day before the first league away day of the season, and we are going to be previewing. I've got my phone on. Grimsby Town away. This is one that I'm excited for. It's a new ground for me. We're playing against a team who, it's fair to say, do have a lot about them despite losing their first game, and we're going to be doing a deep dive into them, talking all about what to expect, how I think we will fare against them, especially away from home at Blundell Park, and of course your guys' thoughts in the comments as well. These shows are going to be, I'd like to think, for every game this season. There's going to be a lot of interaction to it. We're going to be looking to get guests on and all that sort of thing, so it's exciting times, and I'm glad that I've finally been able to get this in place. So let me just make sure that we are all okay. Yeah, I can see the chat coming up. Let me just make sure that I can. Yeah, sounds all okay on my end. So that is brilliant. So without further ado, let's get into it. So of course we may as well talk about us a little bit first. Of course, first game of the season we did beat Newport County 3-2 in what was an unbelievable game and an absolute masterclass from Loney Joel Colwell. Of course, plenty of other notable performances. Ibrahim Bakare being one of those. Owen Evans having a decent game as well, sort of silencing a lot of critics there. However, there was a lot of negatives to it as well. Maybe defensively, I think the goals that we conceded were worrying, especially when we're coming into a game against the Grimsby side, who do like to play with the ball at feet. You know, we'll be going into their previous stats later on in this live stream, in this show. And it's fair to say that if we defend as badly as we did at against Newport at times, we could struggle. But let me just welcome people in. We've got Riley in here. How are we doing? Home of CTFC as well. Says up the town. That is things we love to see. But yeah, so of course there's a lot of positives to take from Newport. I think you could see that going into the Plymouth game. Of course, the first half performance against Plymouth was brilliant. If you haven't already, the vlog is live on the channel, so go and give that a cheeky little watch and drop a like if you haven't already on there. Yeah, the first half performance there was fantastic. It's nice to see us finally trying to play free-flowing football. I think that's kind of the identity that Flynn is trying to play by, you know, a lot more exciting football, attacking football, looking to kind of create those vibrant chances as opposed to just playing it long, whipping it in when there's no one in the box. This sort of thing that we've seen for the last few seasons under the likes of Wade Elliott and Darryl Clark. And it's excellent to see. But I feel like in this game, we might struggle a little bit more. So, let's start off talking about Grimsby then. Of course, they did lose their first game away to Fleetwood Town. Of course, very, very strong opposition there under Charlie Adam. They do have a really good squad, although they may be losing Brendan Wiradu. So, time will tell on that. I'm not too sure if there's been any more advancements in that. But we'll have to wait and see, because he is an absolute colossus for the Cods, it's fair to say. However, once again, Grimsby, I mean, I've watched the highlights. They looked okay. However, they do seem to play with a very clear identity, and I don't think that's going to be any different in this game against us. You look at the patterns of play here. They were under the cosh for large amounts of the game. However, they did start very well. Obviously, we like to try and start quickly. It looks like under Flynn. It's looked like that at times in pre-season. It's looked like that in the two games so far. We do like to take the game to teams in the opening, 10 or 15 minutes of a game. Similarly to us, Grimsby failed to capitalise on that positive patch of play at the start of the game, and then tailed off massively for the next half an hour or so, of course, conceding there, which ultimately was the defiant blow in that game for them. But I mean, you go into the in-depth stats of Grimsby. 65% possession, 538 passes played, in contrast to Fleetwood's 269. This is what I mean by this is a side who, under Dave Artell, do look to play passing football, maybe slightly more conservative football, it's fair to say, but they like having the ball at feet. If we can prevent them from kind of using that to gain a strong output, I think this game's ours for the taking. However, of course, they did also play on Tuesday night against Bradford. Much, much better in that game. Although, once again, probably should have lost in normal time. But we'll talk about that game later on. Adam, the Grimsby fan, says, we love keeping the ball, but can't do anything with it. Didn't look a danger at all. If you can keep your shape, you'll win. I mean, I feel like, judging by what I've seen of Grimsby so far, I don't think that's a million miles off. I think that's a fair assessment, but it's hard for me to say when I'm not a Grimsby fan and I haven't watched, the full 90 minutes so far. I was speaking to a Bradford fan yesterday, actually, and he was very frustrated that, it got taken to pens, and then especially the way in which they lost on pens, with it being quite clinical for the first few. But yeah, like you say, very little seems to be done with this massive amount of possession. You could say, I mean, same amount of tackles, effectively same amount of free kicks, but just not enough output. One big chance each, Fleetwood capitalised. The thing that I think is intriguing, and says a lot about how Grimsby like to play their football, is you look at where their shots came from, and they are all within 15 or so yards of the goal, which doesn't exactly fill you with the idea that they play a vibrant brand of football and that, they're really trying to pepper the goal. I think it's almost reminiscent of Arsenal under Arsene Wenger at times, where it seemed like they were trying to pass the ball into the net. I think you just have to watch the highlights to see that maybe shots could be taken earlier, opportunities could be found, avenues of scoring could be found a lot earlier, and in maybe quicker, more exciting ways, as opposed to kind of the conservative football that the Mariners seem to have played with so far this season. But listen, that doesn't mean to say that that's going to be the same in this game. Of course, Cheltenham are a very different type of opposition to Fleetwood. Fleetwood, I think it's fair to say, are a more solid side that will be looking to try and finish around those playoffs this season, or maybe even further. Who knows? Not writing them off at all yet. But maybe the setup's going to be different. Maybe Dave Artell, of course, who was linked with the Cheltenham job not so long ago, maybe he's going to look at us and think, right, now's the time to play that free-flowing attacking football on home patch after that penalty win over Bradford on Tuesday. Listen, we'll see. We'll see what happens. Adam says exactly that. You'll never see us have a random pop. Always walk it into the net, sort of thing. Yeah, I get the gist that that's what you've seen this season so far. It's very different to I think what we've seen of Grimsby in recent years. A lot more shots being taken from other positions, maybe more obscure positions in recent seasons. Hence why you every few seasons when you see the goal of the seasons compilation, there always seems to be at least one or two from Grimsby. But I feel like since Dave Artell, that is just his brand of football. It's a lot more slow, it's a lot more conservative. But if you can have enough of the ball and you can find ways to take your chances and find that output, then it will come good for you. So far it hasn't, but there's absolutely no reason to say that isn't going to be the case come 3 o'clock tomorrow. Hopefully not. Let's look at the Bradford game for them then. It was a similar sort of situation to the Fleetwood game in terms of patterns of play. I think there was moments in the game for Grimsby, but Bradford dominated. That missed penalty was an absolute catalyst for Grimsby to step onto the front foot. Of course, the missed penalty from Smallwood hitting the woodwork, I believe. It was, I think that was sort of the turning point in the game. Bradford were well and truly on top. They had a goal coming, and then maybe their heads dropped a bit. I'm not too sure. That seemed to be the consensus when I had a chat with a Bradford fan last night. And then, listen, they get the goal once again, and it just seems to drop off. Bradford absolutely peppering them, and then ultimately the goal from Andy Cook, who else, equalises in the last, 15 minutes or so. And took the game to penalties, which Grimsby managed to win just about. Let's look at the stats. Once again, more possession, a bit more contested this time, but still more possession, but still far less big chances, should I say. 1 to Bradford's 4. I mean, I know we could talk about Bradford all day playing a more attacking brand of football this season. I think that's fairly obvious to see. If you watch enough League Two football, if you've watched any of their pre-season, they do look like they're really going to go for promotion this year, playing a bit more exciting football, and really trying to put teams onto the back foot. Even when they're away from home and not at Valley Parade, which of course does seem to be a bit of a fortress at times. 22 shots to Grimsby's 8. I just think if Grimsby want to make it a bit more comfortable for themselves tomorrow, I think they've got no choice but to just pepper the goal. If they're only having 8 shots when they're getting more possession and all this other stuff, and the amount of time that they like to spend on the ball, the amount of passing they play. I mean, once again, 425 passes to Bradford's 357. They're going to have to start taking shots because it doesn't seem to be achieving them anything. And against a team like Cheltenham, where they will get chances to open us up, there's no doubt. We always have little blips where we let players, make runs in behind or passes over the top or cutting through balls through the defence. It's been that case for years. Whenever we've even had, the best of our defences, for example, when we won the league, there were still occasions of this. I mean, Grimsby did it to us when we won the league at our place. So it's not beyond the realms of possibility at all, but they are going to have to turn it on for this one, even on home patch, because I just think with the confidence that we've got at the moment and the attacking football that we're seemingly like to play so far, and the more exciting brand of passing that Flynn's introduced, I think they're going to have to play a bit more on the front foot and kind of limit what we can do, with sort of attack being the best means of defence for them, and maybe, hopefully for them, cutting in and getting a goal here or there. Hopefully not for us. But yeah, I think I don't really know what much else that there is to say on the past few performances for Grimsby. Of course, in due course, we will get on to Cheltenham. But my one other feature that I do want to discuss on these previews, I will be giving a player to watch for the opposition for Cheltenham fans to keep an eye out for. And for me, from what I've seen of him so far, I don't think there's anyone else that you can choose. I think it's, well, in my opinion, I think it's pretty obvious. His ratings speak for themselves, stats-wise, and the football that he's played since arriving at Grimsby is something else, and that man is Josh McEachran. I think he likes to play attacking football. Of course, I don't think he's had a goal contribution yet in the first 2 games, but you can tell that he's, a pass or a run away from getting that first goal contribution. He does play attacking football from the midfield, can chip in defensively as well. He's got a bit of pace about him. He's got a little bit of flair about him. Of course, we've seen him at many clubs. I've got a fly on my monitor. We've seen him at many clubs in the EFL, maybe struggling to kind of get that breakthrough since he was at Chelsea, of course. But I think Grimsby could be a good ground for him to build from what I've seen of him so far. I just think he needs that first goal contribution, and maybe the players around him could be helping him out a bit more. But I think against Bradford he was fantastic, and then especially against Fleetwood as well, he was kind of one of the standouts for Grimsby. And I'm just hoping that we can kind of isolate him in the midfield and kind of take him out of the game. By that, I don't mean absolutely snapping him, but if it has to happen, it has to happen. But he is a fantastic player, in my opinion, and I'm sure there's others. I'd be interested to hear your guys' opinions on that as well. Dom says, I love your content. You're a legend, mate. Thank you. Luca Barrington, we want to watch if he starts. Tricky winger. Okay. We do seem to struggle down the wings at times. Defensively, I think this season, it's fair to say. The root of our problems have come sort of down that left side, maybe more so than the right side. But pre-season, I think you could see the problems brewing, with the wings making an issue. But yeah, for me, Josh McEachran, and obviously there's many other players that you could mention there as well. But on to us. Of course, we've already touched on Newport. I do want to mainly talk about the Plymouth game. I haven't sat down and done a review of it. I haven't done a live stream. I haven't done anything. So I think it'd be good for me to give my thoughts on it. Of course, once again, like I said, I did do a vlog of it, the first vlog back on the channel of the season. Honestly, it felt so good to get it out because I haven't done a vlog in so long. And I miss doing it, to be honest. I burnt out last season, and It's very good to be back. Very good to be back. But I think the vlog is a pretty good representation of the way that the game went. There wasn't really a lot going on throughout the 90 minutes, if I'm honest. I think we had the better chances in the first half. Plymouth were probably the better side in terms of the amount of chances they had, the amount of time on the ball they had. But I think they couldn't cope with our press in the first half. Of course, we hit the post. We forced their keeper, Connor Hazard, of course, into a few really good saves. And it was frustrating that we couldn't get a goal in the first half, because I think it would have been a lot different going into the second half. And I said at halftime, you know, okay, we'd taken the game to them, we played brilliantly, and we didn't expect to go through. So I think the performance in itself, as you can see by what everyone said on Twitter, was resounding. I'd much rather see us play really well at times and lose than, play terrible and somehow fluke a win in that competition, if I'm perfectly honest, although I would have liked Watford away. I can't lie. But it is what it is. And like I've mentioned before, the passing play is so much better to watch. I think we saw it at times against Newport, but especially in that first half against Plymouth. Against the side that was quite strong, let's be honest, there was a lot of players that started on the bench, the likes of Morgan Whittaker, players like that. But listen, I think to play that sort of football successfully against a team that was fairly strong, a championship side, a side who stayed up fairly comfortably in the end last season. Well, I say that, they did take it pretty much to the last day, but it seemed a lot more comfortable than that. Yeah, I think that the lads can be immensely proud of that and take a lot of positives going into this game. I think the second half exposed a few problems for us in terms of defensively. I mentioned it at half time. I think as a unit, when we're dealing with, solid attacks, I think we're all right. Counter attacks, we look a bit vulnerable if we've got, one tricky winger or a skillful player that's trying to run into the heart of the pitch as opposed to staying out on the wing. I think that's a massive issue. We need to kind of focus on getting our fullbacks to kind of keep the wingers down those channels as opposed to allowing them inside. We saw against Plymouth the amount of times the players would cut in from the wing and just absolutely, well, either run into open space that wasn't marked by defenders, or just make a tit of some of our midfielders and defenders, especially down our right side in the second half. I think all of the goals came from our right side of our defence, so that was frustrating, to say the least. But once again, it is what it is. You take the positives, and I think, I think Flynn said it in an interview himself. He's not too bothered about the cup, so I think the performance was the main thing to take from that. We started well in the league. Why can't we continue it at Blundell Park tomorrow? Honestly, this live stream bollocks is messing with my head. Honestly, right? Let's read these comments. We do need to switch on at the back most of the time, I think. I mean, if we didn't switch on at the back most of the time, I'd be a bit worried. No, but I understand what you mean. Do you still do the long throw nonsense? We actually don't. Now that we lost Sean Long, we are no longer doing the long throw stuff, which is probably why the football seems a lot nicer to watch. It's fair to say. I think we need another centre back and centre mid. I think we're okay in midfield now. I thought we defended well for most of that game, but when Plymouth scored first, we lost our heads. I wouldn't say we lost our heads. I just think they managed to open us up a lot better. Changes were made. They brought on better players. We made subs and kind of switched to a different pattern of football, which kind of focused maybe less on defence. And that roll of the dice didn't work, and it's as simple as that. Cole and Bakare are my two best players so far, and I like Archer as well. He looks good. I wasn't too sure on Archer initially, but I think after seeing him against Plymouth, I think, yeah, that lad's got something about him, for sure. I'm still not sure on Jude Boyd. I think he's can be a bit anonymous at times. I mean, I saw that in pre-season. I think as we see more of him in the league, it'd be easier to make a judgment on that. Player to watch for us then, I think it's pretty self-explanatory. It's got to be Joel Colwell after that brace on opening day and how well he did play. Irrespective of the goals he scored, I think there's absolutely no one else. Other than that, I mean, Bowman's back fit. I think Bowman did really well against Newport. I think he should have scored on at least one occasion, especially in the second half. But yeah, I think that there's markings for him. Matty Taylor still looks good. I don't think there's any one player other than Joel Colwell that you can really make an account for. If I'm perfectly honest. After seeing Dan Evans now play the game, who would you rather see in goal? Still Evans. I would still say Evans, although Joe Day was very good on Wednesday. I was very impressed with him, especially in the first half. I think the free kick goal he was just really unlucky with. It was a great save onto the crossbar, and unfortunately, whoever was marking Ben Waine lost him completely because he was practically, he was freer than Fortnite, some might say. God, I haven't said that in years. I will never be saying that again. But yeah, no, it was a frustrating goal. But I think Joe Day did play well, but I still think Evans. I think there's no reason to be dropping Evans this early on. I think he did very well against Newport. Distribution, I don't know who's better, to be honest. I thought Joe Day was very good at playing some long balls on Wednesday night. But listen, I think that's a discussion that doesn't need to be had yet at all. I think that's almost a bit of a silly question after only one game, to be perfectly honest. But fucking fly, man. Oh, did I actually get it? That's unreal. Right, sorry. Excited about. Sorry, let me put this on screen. Excited about Dawson. Like a tapping on Saturday, but his movements, appealing in space was lovely indeed. And it's nice to see him kind of proving critics wrong about him coming from the 7th tier and kind of showing his qualities and already scoring on his debut and looking fairly lively still against Plymouth. He didn't really get a look in, if I'm perfectly honest, but when he was involved and when he was able to get into good positions, he did. And yeah, I've been very impressed by Dawson so far, and long may that continue. I just think there's a lot more to come from him. And hopefully, he can settle into that Cheltenham shirt, settle into that striker's role, and, compete to be a starting striker every week for the rest of the season. I think that's going to be his aim, and that's, what I think a lot of us would like to see him do, with obviously him having to compete with two very experienced strikers, and of course Miller now as well. There's a lot of competition in those striker roles, so let's hope that he can prove his worth for the rest of the season. Right then, lads. We've covered everything we wanted to cover. By the way, these live shows will usually be between 20 minutes and half an hour, just purely because there isn't too much to talk about, of course. If you remember, the OGs of the channel will remember the match preview videos, and those videos were only about 7 or 8 minutes long. So there's no point me sitting here and waffling. I think we've covered everything we needed to cover. This is my first time doing it. I promise the quality will improve in future, but thank you to everyone who has tuned in. One final thing, of course, we will be including it on the vlog anyway, but if you want to get them in early and you want to discuss them and say, here's why I'm saying this, who your goal scorers are going to be, this, that, and the other, go for it. What is your score predictions? Now, I haven't actually thought about mine yet. I think this is a very difficult game to predict. I think it's a massive stab in the dark, especially this early on in the season, because you don't have a lot of form to go off of. So, yeah, be interested to see what you guys think. Score predictions wise, let me know your goal scorers. Let me know why you think what you predict. And it'll just be interesting to see the contrast or the lack of contrast between a lot of people's predictions. I think off the top of my head, I think I'd probably say I think we can win. It kind of stinks of a 2-1 win in my opinion. But I think it could easily be a 0-0, a 1-0, a 2-0 maybe. But I feel like Grimsby won't be scoring 2. Wow, having said that, we'll probably go and lose 4-0 now, but 1-1, but only time will tell. He loves it, eh? What a phrase. You know what? I didn't even mean for that ever to be a thing. But there we go. It just did. I didn't even realise for the first 3 times I did it that I said it every time. And then people started saying it to me, and I was like, oh, okay, well, that's stuck now, isn't it? It's a bit like the hat, when I used to wear the hat all the time. In fact, where is the hat? I've still got the hat, actually. I wore it on holiday, so it's just come out of the wash. Hold on. Should it be brought back? Should it be brought back? I think it's got to happen at some stage. To be fair, it makes my hair look fucking awful, so that's not happening. But yeah, any questions? Get them in for the last couple minutes or so. Open to any sort of Q&A style questions. I always do like to answer questions, football and channel related. So fire away, lads. We will be live for maximum another 5 minutes. If you haven't already, like I say, I will just quickly whack the link in the chat to the Plymouth vlog. I must admit, I was quite happy with how it came out. So, oh god, is it gonna? No, thank goodness it didn't play my channel trailer. It is approaching 800 views, which, to be fair, for a cup game and the first game of the season, that is actually not too bad. How many are you bringing tomorrow? I have no idea, mate. No idea. Right, so there is the link to the Plymouth vlog. Go and give it a watch. Be massively appreciated. Like I say, any questions, feel free to get them in. But yeah, like I say, these previews will hopefully be a regular occurrence for the remainder of the season. It does depend on other content that I've got coming. I'll try and find ways to at least make the previews remain. Of course, I will be missing a few games this season, whether it's for racing, because I just love racing, or being abroad going to other games. I'll tell you this now. So I have two planned at the moment. I don't have tickets for either because they're too far away. One of them is going to be very difficult to get tickets for, but I'm going to find a way. I'm going with my old man. We've booked accommodation, we've booked flights, we've booked everything else. We are going to Spain to watch Malaga versus Elche. I cannot wait for this. We've been travelling to Malaga on holiday for years and years and years, and we've always said we wanted to go and watch Malaga play. So it's on the way, lads. It's on the way. That is going to be the first foreign vlog of the season, and then 2 weeks after that, literally 2 weeks after that. Or just over 2 weeks, actually. 2 weeks and a day after that. I haven't booked anything for it yet, but I may as well tell you. I'm not going to keep this one as a surprise. This is just for you boys because you're elite and you're still here. I am going to be going to Sweden and I'm going to be watching Hammarby. It's different. But I'm on a gap year. I'm going to be travelling anyway. So I want to bring you boys some different content and hopefully grow the channel as much as I can. That's the aim. Freddie says score prediction. I haven't really sat down and had a proper hard think about it yet. I think at this stage in the season when not enough has happened, and in a game like this where it's two sides that are probably going to play hit and miss football, I think it could go either way. I'll probably end up saying 2-1 to Cheltenham. That's not my finalised prediction, but I do think it could easily be a draw. Grimsby could easily nick a win. We'll just see what happens on the day. Is that the same hat that went 30 feet over my head at Bristol Rovers? No. Funnily enough, I never got that back. I'd back a 1-1 as well. I haven't got a striker as such with Rose injured. Oh, I hadn't realised Rose was injured. Oh dear. That is a big miss. I hadn't realised that, I must be honest. Colwell and Barrington to score. Best of luck, fellas. Adam, best of luck to you. If you see me, don't hurt me. No, but yeah, right. We'll end in a sec. Any last questions? Get them in now. Also, anything that you want to see come to the channel over the next season, whether that be other live shows like this one, a new style of video that you think might be worth me trying out, games that I should go to, places that I should go to, things that I should implement into the vlogs. Anything like that, any suggestions, get them in now or forever hold your peace. And if not, just DM me on Instagram, MatterMess_YT on Instagram, and I believe it's the same on Twitter. In fact, it might be MatterMess_YouTube on that one. So, yeah. But I think we'll conclude it there if we haven't got any more questions. So thank you all very much for tuning in. It's been an absolute joy. Long may these continue, and I cannot wait to get back to vlogging again. Football League vlogs are back. I can't wait. And yeah, buzzing, very excited. I'll see you all at Grimsby tomorrow. Fingers crossed for another big 3 points to take us up the table even more. and have a brilliant start to our League Two season. Against the odds, some might say. But yeah, thanks for tuning in. All the best, and I will see you all tomorrow.